Hi guys, it is Aoife from Fred BC Died Laughing, and I am here with another weekly wrap up. I had a really great reading week with amazing books and I cannot wait to tell you all about them. And the first book I read I just devoured because I absolutely loved it, and it was The Poet X by Elizabeth Acevedo. This is a book that's it's written completely in verse, and which is really cool. I actually really enjoy verse books now and again, and I think this is my third book to have read in verse, and I've enjoyed pretty much all of the books that I have read in verse. It's just a really nice and unique way of taking in a story, and this one was just done so well. So this is all about a girl called Xiomara, and she is American, but she comes from Dominican descent, and her parents, particularly her mother, they're very strict and they're quite religious, and Xiomara is struggling to kind of come to terms with religion and like whether she really believes in God or really to the extent her mum is, because her mum is like very religious, battling a little bit with it in her own mind, and she feels like she's not really been listened to that much by her mum. You know, she's growing up, she has a crush on this boy in her class, but she's not really allowed to date, and there's so much interesting commentary in here about not just religion and growing up being surrounded by religion, and whether, you know, is religion good or bad, or, you know, like this kind of thing where you really have to everyone has their own individual journey with religion and with their own spirituality, and it can't be forced upon you, and I really enjoyed that. But there's also this really great discussion in this book around kind of women's bodies and girls growing up, and particularly like girls who are growing up a little bit curvier and, you know, might have a woman's body before they're actually a woman, and how they can be punished for simply having this body, and, you know, they can be punished by the way people respond to their body, and how it's not fair, and how she doesn't really have a choice about the type of body she has, and, you know, she doesn't want this attention that she sometimes gets from older men and boys, but she seems to be punished for it. And yeah, there's just this really great discussions and that like stuff, and a look into that kind of stuff in this book. And as well, this book has a really kind of good look at the strained relationship between mother and daughter in this as well, which I love, because I feel like a lot of books seem to show like these really amazing parental relationships sometimes, and so does movies and TV shows, and there's always these like really great mother-daughter, you know, Lorelai, Rory, Gilmore kind of relationships, and not all mother-daughter relationships are like that, and that's okay. Like, you don't have to be super duper close to your mom all the time, especially when you're a teenager and you're going through all this stuff. There were just parts in this book where, like, once I got like a quarter of the way through, I could not put this down. I literally was like flipping through pages lightning speed. I just was taking in the story so fast because I couldn't put it down. I had to devour every single bit of it. I loved it so much, and there's a part in this book where something happens and I literally like gasped, and I said no, like I was having those reactions with this book, which is why I loved it so much. And so I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars, just because, like, obviously the story is told in an excellent way, but I had a real visceral reaction to everything that was happening in this book as well. I was there, I felt her feelings, I could see it in my mind. It was done so well, and I loved it. So 5 out of 5 stars. This book really does deserve all the praise that it gets because it was amazing. The next book I picked up was The Kiss Quotient by Helen Hoang, and this is a contemporary romance, like new adult story, and it's basically kind of like a Pretty Woman in reverse, and it is about a girl called Stella who is really successful in her job. She's really smart, but she has a problem in terms of really being able to communicate with people and kind of building up relationships with people, because she has Asperger's syndrome, so she is autistic, and she finds it just hard to connect with people and to really understand people's humour. She's very direct, she kind of says what she thinks, and sometimes that comes across as her being rude when she doesn't really mean it to be. So she decides that her mum and dad really kind of want her to find someone and want her to, you know, get married and have kids and stuff, and they don't want her to be alone, and she decides that she kind of needs extra help with being able to attract someone, and she hires an escort called Michael to help her with sex and to get better at sex, because she feels like she's bad at sex. And Michael is just like a cinnamon bun of cuteness. He is gorgeous, and he immediately is obviously extremely attracted to Stella, and he decides that he's going to help her, but obviously a relationship does build up between the two, and we all kind of know what's going to happen. I loved this book. It was just so cute. There was a lot of like really nice sexy times in it as well. I really enjoyed the sex scenes that were so kind of consensual and full of both you know, woman's desires being fulfilled and a man's desires being fulfilled. It wasn't one-sided in any way, and I loved the attention that Michael gave Stella, and you know how he really made her know that her feelings and her desire was just as important in the bedroom as his. So a woman's desire is just as important as a man's, you know, and things like foreplay and stuff are really, really, you know, they're really important. I really loved seeing like a character like Stella represented, and kind of understanding a little bit of how she saw the world and how other people with Asperger's might see the world as well. And yeah, it was just really interesting. It was really nice to see people respond to her really well once they kind of understood how she thought. So yes, I just really enjoyed this book, and I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. After that, I picked up Sky in the Deep by Adrienne. I was given this book in exchange for an honest review from Titan Books, and this is a fantasy, kind of standalone fantasy book about a girl called Helen who is she is kind of part of this tribe called the Aska, and it's kind of like a Viking tribe. It's very Viking-esque, this book, Viking inspired, and every 5 years her tribe is in a battle with this other tribe called the Rika, because there is this kind of like, it's all to do with their religion, and that they've always been at war, and every 5 years they have this big kind of battle between them and loads of people die, and then they train for another 5 years, and then they meet again on this battlefield. And 5 years previously, Helen saw her brother die on this battlefield, but then now she's in the next battle and she sees her brother again, but he's fighting with the opposite tribe, and she is like, what is going on? This is really weird. I think I saw my brother, but he died. And she basically goes to try and investigate what is going on, and she kind of ends up not really as a slave, but as a pretend slave in a way, with the Rika clan, and she obviously finds out what happened with her brother and the real story behind his apparent death, and then she kind of ends up seeing that the other tribe is very much like her tribe. You know, people are people. You know, the different blood actually doesn't make that much of a difference. You know, they aren't like these monsters that she was always told they were, and it ends up kind of being where she might have a chance to bring the two tribes together and find peace. And I really enjoyed this. For a standalone novel, I feel like it had everything in it. I feel like I got what I wanted with the one book, and I feel like I'm not kind of like, oh, I really wish there was another one. I feel like I did get everything I needed in the one book. I really liked the kind of the warring like thoughts that she had about her brother, and about he was a traitor, but she loved him because he was family. I really like that the author didn't like, she didn't stray away from the fact that, you know, Helen is a Viking. She is she's a warrior. She was always thought to be a warrior. She is fierce, and she is going to use that fierceness, and she's going to use that violence that she is trained with. So like there's times where she has killed people. She does kill people, and it's not one of these things where suddenly the character is like, oh, I don't think I can kill anyone anymore, or I can't be, you know, violent anymore, or anything like that. You know, you sometimes see that in books, and where this one, like, she knew she had to use those skills to survive. And there's a bit in this where there's like a bit of a torture scene, and she literally like plucks someone's eyeball from the socket, and that was really cool. It was really gross, but it was really cool. But I kind of liked that was there, because obviously that is what you'd expect life to be like in these kind of like Viking tribes. Like, you would expect that people would be like that and would be violent like that, because that's just the way it was. So yeah, I really liked that. I will say I thought there is a romance relationship in this, which I really liked, but I feel like I would have liked a bit more build up to it maybe, or like a bit more explanation as to why they were suddenly like falling in love with each other. I feel like there wasn't enough there for it to suddenly happen. I don't know, I just would have liked a little bit more build up to that. But overall, I did really enjoy this book. I really enjoyed the writing, I enjoyed the world. I love the fact that it seemed to be like this really set world, and I feel like the author really knew the world that she was talking about, and the world that she had created, and the gods and the way people lived, and I really enjoyed that. And yeah, I feel like the way the information is given to you across the book as well, it's not all this info dump at the start, it's like trickled in slowly. So yeah, I really enjoyed that too. So I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars. And the last book I have been reading this week, I'm only like 5 chapters in, so I'm only like a tiny of the way in, but I may have this finished by the end of the week, because I'm actually filming this video a little bit early, but I don't know yet. But it is Britt-Marie Was Here by Fredrik Backman, which is kind of a follow on from My Grandmother Asked Me to Tell You She's Sorry, because Britt-Marie is a character in this, and this kind of follows on from some stuff that happened to Britt-Marie at the end of My Grandmother Asked Me to Tell You She's Sorry, but I do think you can probably like read it as a standalone as well. Yeah, so I obviously know the character Britt-Marie already from the other book, but yeah, I'm only 5 chapters into this. I'm really enjoying it already. It has all of the humour and the characteristics of Fredrik Backman's writing, which I love. So yeah, I'm really enjoying this, and I'll talk about this more next week. That's everything I have read this week. Please let me know all your guys' thoughts. I would love to know, and I'll see you guys again next time. Bye!